A car that stayed in the market for 8 to 9 years but still struggled to pull buyers. Its tall boy presence gave you enough headroom that even if you were over 6 feet, you could still fit in. And its shark fin design, if you haven't guessed by now, I'm talking about the Suzuki Ritz, globally known as the Suzuki Splash. So let's just dive in. Get it? Because Suzuki Splash, so dive in. Okay, I really gotta stop my jokes. The Suzuki Ritz, aka the Suzuki Splash, was designed by Suzuki's European design firm. The car was later brought to India by Maruti Suzuki in the May of 2009. The Ritz was basically just a cheaper alternative to the Suzuki Swift, but it was a good one. It was a really good option, to be honest. The car was built in Gurgaon. Here's a picture of the factory where it was built. It came with two engine options, a 1.2 liter petrol engine and a 1.3 liter diesel. We had the 1.3 liter diesel. The petrol version made 84 horsepower and 113 newton-meters of torque, while the diesel version made 74 horsepower and 190 newton-meters of torque, which it's not really all that much power, but it's still pretty fun to drive. From 2009 to 2013, you could only get the Ritz as a stick shift. In 2013, they basically introduced their 4-speed automatic transmission for their petrol engines. So if you got a petrol, you could choose between manual or automatic. They mainly did this to compete against the Hyundai i10 and the Honda Brio at the time. If we talk about design, it was pretty tall and it looked a bit like a shark fin. If you looked at it from the side, I'll put the picture up. Yeah. For like, if you're like 5'10" and below, it might be kind of hard to reach the roof, but it's still doable if you're like 5'10", like me. Otherwise, its side profile sort of matched the Mahindra Marazzo. Here's a side-to-side comparison between the two. The ride height was pretty good. I mean, like, you sat up high. I mean, not too high, but sort of like in between. Sorry about that. If we talk about the interior, it came with a dashboard mounted gear shifter, a dashboard mounted rev counter, and a front and center speedometer, which had the odometer in as well. Like right in front of. Why, Dad? Why? Sorry if this video is being interrupted. Let's just move on, guys. Storage space was pretty decent, actually. You got a decently sized hatch. You get subwoofers from factory, which would fit in your trunk, which would also act as a cargo cover. Else, if we talk about the main cabin where you would sit, I mean, you got rear seat pockets, and on the sides of the driver's seats, at least in the one we had, it had a bit of a leather trim. So those had basically a phone holder on the sides as well. Also, if we talk about up front, you had a decently sized glove box, and above that you also had a shelf for your like phones or stuff. In the center where you had the gear shifter, you also had a slot for your phone and a cigarette style phone charger. Else above, front and center, above the air conditioning, you also had another little cubby to store your stuff. And in the middle, where you had the handbrake and stuff, you also had a bit of a tray where you could store your stuff. Else under the passenger seat, front passenger seat, we had a tray. I don't know if it came from factory, it was an option, I don't know. We bought it second hand, that's why. the one I'm talking about. It came with a bit of a plastic tray, which slid under your seat. It had a rail for the tray. And also, door pockets were pretty decent, although in the back you didn't really get any door pockets, which is unfortunate. If you're carrying balls, you have to stick it in the rear seat pockets instead, which it's not really the most practical thing, to be honest, but you gotta make sacrifices for stuff, you know. You gotta sacrifice stuff for other stuff. Visibility was also really good for that car. Now in September of 2012, Suzuki did a mild facelift for the Ritz, which gave it a singular grille with the number plate resting sort of like how Audis have their number plates, the Audi number plate situation. You know what I mean, right? Basically, if you've ever seen an Audi, you know what I mean. And you've definitely seen an Audi at some point. Although, to be honest, we had the pre-facelift 2012 model year. Else, even after the facelift, nothing much changed. It still had the same design, same taillights, same everything, just the grille changed, and you got a clamshell hood instead of the other type. Also, something that changed was the fog lights. The housing for them, you can just see in the picture, I don't know how to explain it. In the new one, you had triangular. Despite selling 400,000 units across India, I don't know about the rest of the world, but across India they sold that many. And despite selling 200,000 units in 3 years, they finally stopped manufacturing the Ritz in 2016 due to low demand, and basically the design trends changed and they couldn't cope up with it. Basically, from what I get. It was by 2017 they finally cleared out all their remaining stock for the Ritz, and that's how the Ritz came to an end. To be honest, it was a great run. It was a really good car to drive. I still miss the days when I used to drive one. Basically when my dad used to teach me to drive. I really miss those days. That's why I plan to buy one soon. Maybe once I get my own money. That's when. Now to share some concepts for you, by the way. They made a concept version of the Ritz as well. This is what it looked like. Let's just talk about this for a moment. So if we talk about the rear design, I mean the rear end, it looks great. It looks perfect. The sides, okay, I can see it. The front, I don't know why, it reminds me of an A-Star, but if it was worse. I mean, the A-Star was, I don't want to make any comments on the A-Star. I have never driven one in my entire life. I have no experiences with the car, so I don't want to make any comments. Anyways, so that's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and be sure to subscribe to the channel, because if you made it this far, I definitely doesn't. You need to sub to this channel so you don't miss out on any more content. Anyways, this is what I'm gonna be signing out. Ciao, peace.